Sanibonani, Dumelang, Goeiemorgen, Dimachironi. I can see that we are quite well versed in our 11 rich languages. Ladies and gentlemen, our honored guests, I'm going to name all of them: Professor Brendan Barnes, Professor Ifongo Bombil, Professor Mohammed Afeji, Professor Elna McIntosh, Gavin Moffat, and Jerry Mufukeng. I was reminding him of a documentary that he did in the mid-90s about violence in the taxi in the townships, and it begins when he is looking fierce inside a train, and then obviously he participated in violence. But that was a movie. That was not him who actually participated in violence. It is a great pleasure to welcome you, and Dr. Wasserman. I'm a mechanical engineer, and so I like reading mechanical engineering magazines. But in addition to that, I also read True Love. My wife does buy True Love, and I do. And I also read Drum, and I read Sis Dolly also, But certainly, I have followed Dr. Eve's radio talk on SAFM. I have read her work on True Love, and I have found it quite inspiring in many ways. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the University of Johannesburg. My task is really to welcome all of you to this event, and maybe just to bring context as to why do we think we should have such a gendered program called UJ Men's Event. UJ Men's Event is not necessarily a sexist initiative. We don't do it in order to talk about issues to do with men to the detriment of women. We do it because we believe that as a society, there are many critical issues that we need our men to reconfigure themselves if they have not reconfigured themselves. For example, issues of gender-based violence, where men are actually the biggest participants. So we need to come and talk about issues such as that so that we can not just minimize that, but if possible, eliminate completely from our way of operations. As University of Johannesburg, we believe that our men must be respectful to society. They must be respectful, especially to women, because without that respect, our worth as men is severely diminished. We believe that we should have irreproachable conduct in our work, minds free from prejudice. Open-mindedness is actually one of our values as the University of Johannesburg. We should be open-minded to ideas and interrogate them, think about them, and if they are positive and they are for the greater good of everybody, men and women, then we should adopt them as our way of life. What are some of these key elements that we expect from especially our graduates, but also people who work at the University of Johannesburg? We believe that self-knowledge, we should begin to know ourselves. We should begin to know our bodies, whether it is because we want to ensure that our health are good, to take care of our health, physical exercise, basically the general self-knowledge in all its dimensions, whether it is physical, spiritual, and intellectual. Very, very important for us to do that. And I think another value that I urge the people in the audience is really what I call self-control. Now, as I was driving here this morning, there was a person who was basically almost angry because somebody had cut in front of him. And some of these things are unavoidable. No, they are avoidable. And this can lead to violence, for example. And the reason for that is because we have not sufficiently capacitated ourselves to be able to control ourselves when situations seem to be out of hand. Self-control is a very, very important value that we believe is quite important as the University of Johannesburg. As the University of Johannesburg, I can see Professor Sina is even augmenting what I have said by his expression. He's our Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and the youngest dean in the sector, as a matter of fact. Another value that the values that we really stand for as the University of Johannesburg is fairness. We have to be fair to ourselves, and we have to be fair to others. And in this regard, the principle of reciprocity, which states that whatever is good for others should also be good for, whatever is good for us should also be good for others, is very, very important. Justice, social responsibilities. We don't emphasize enough that as human beings, we are actually responsible for our planet. We are responsible for our environment, and we are responsible for other people. I come from Limpopo. I was actually reminding PJ Powers that when I was 12 years old, I went to a concert in Thohoyandou so many years ago. And one of the most dangerous things to do when you are driving to Limpopo is to drive behind a bus. And the reason for that is because a can just fly out of the window of a bus. And the reason for that is because we have not sufficiently cultivated social responsibility. You want to get rid of your can, and instead of waiting for the bus to stop and you can get rid of it, you throw it out. And the reason why you will throw it out is because you have not thought about what the consequences of that could be if that can actually falls on the window of a car that is driving at 120 kilometers per hour. Fatal, absolutely fatal. So I think that is another value that we take very seriously, social responsibility. Now, I was reading a book written by an Israeli historian. It's called Sapiens, the History of Mankind. And in his book, he says that part of the reason why human beings have actually been so destructive to our planet is because a human being actually moved from almost the bottom of the food chain to the top of a food chain very, very, very quickly after the discovery of fire, how to make fire. Because all of a sudden, a human being who is by no means stronger than a lion or any other big animals can be able to light a forest and cultivate whatever is dead, whether it is dead elephants and so on and so forth. And because of that, we have changed the planet. This is the largest change of the planet that has ever been impacted by a biological organism. And the only way we can be able to moderate that, because this developmental path of consumption, of consumption of resources, whether energy resources or water resources, is absolutely not sustainable. It's going to cause more wars. In fact, they say that if ever there is a fourth world war, it will be over water. And I don't think this planet can actually afford a third world war. No. Einstein once reminded us that he does not know how the fifth, he does not know how the fourth world war, what sort of weapons are going to be used, whether nuclear bombs or whatever, you know. But what he does know is that the fifth world war will probably be fought using stones, because the fourth world war will destroy civilization completely. So it is important that we have to take care of our environment. It is important that we have to take care of our fellow human beings. And it is important that we actually do take care of ourselves. You know, as men, we have to do those prostate checks. Very, very important. As uncomfortable as it might sound, we have to do them because it is important for us to take care of ourselves so that we can further positively contribute, not negatively contribute, but positively contribute towards our planet and towards our society. With those few words, thank you very much for honoring this event. This event is very important in our calendar. Unfortunately, I will have to leave before it is finished because I understand the students have gathered to wait for me to give a memorandum to me. And I just have to go there to make sure that they don't do something that I will interpret as social irresponsibility. Like attacking cars of staff members driving through our campuses. You know, to our distinguished guests, I do assure you that you are more than safe. Nobody is going to attack you. And welcome to University of Johannesburg.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.